Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yatkrapatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. We are going to study chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. So last week we studied the modes of material nature. The essence of the chapter is to get out of the modes, the bondage caused by the modes of material nature. One has to devote himself to develop attachment to Krishna. And Krishna further elaborates. Basically, all these chapters, chapter 13 onwards, they are Krishna's guidance on how one can get rid of the material existence. First, he characterized he gave a presentation on the nature of the material nature by presenting the model of understanding the material nature through modes of the three modes of material nature. Now here, that same concept about understanding the material existence is given through an example of a upside down banyan tree, which is basically a reflection in the water. If you stand by the river and there is, say, a big banyan tree, and you watch in the water, you would see the upside down of the banyan tree. So using that example, one can understand the nature of the material existence. So he elaborates on the topic here. One way is to understand how the modes bind us. The other way is to see the nature of the material nature through this example. So we will discuss that more. So this chapter it's a very short chapter. We'll also summarize quickly. It has 5 topics. First 6 verses focus on how one can attain liberation by developing detachment, because the material existence is a reflection, it's not reality. So one should develop understanding of the nature of the material nature and develop detachment. Next, if you don't do that, the only recourse is that you will continue to transmigrate in the material existence. Up to 11 verses. And while living in this material world, Krishna would help us to sustain materially in this material existence, and also helps us to actually make spiritual progress up to verse 15. And then there is this Trishloki Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of Vedanta, is presented in 16 to 18. And finally, Krishna gives the understanding that to know Krishna means to know everything. If you know Krishna, that is everything. That is inclusive of all the knowledge that you ever need to know. And thus ends the chapter. The chapter ends with that. So the first section, the essence of the section is that you can get liberation from the modes by developing detachment to the material existence. Of course, the process is to attach to Krishna, but let's understand a little more about why this material existence is a reflection of reality. When something is upside down, we understand that it's not real. It's a reflection, right? Because there is always conflict in our experience in this material world, right? We always want to live forever, but always we see death and misery. We always want to be happy. We always want to live forever, but we see contradiction here. It means that it is not exactly what we expect in this existence. So it's not reality. It's something like a reflection. So we can all experience this if we stand by the side of a river with a tree. It exactly looks like tree. If there is a say there is a mango tree, you would actually see real mangoes in the tree, right? You never feel like these are not mangoes if you see focusedly see the reflection. The material existence is also like that. It appears completely real, but material existence is like, so if you have in a 2D graph, you have x and y axis. It's the negative y axis that is the material existence, while the reality is the you know the spiritual reality is the positive y axis. That's how we can compare material existence to spiritual existence, right? Now if you want to go and try to if somebody is captivated by these mangoes in the water, and he tries to catch it, but every time he tries to catch, it remains inaccessible, right? It never accesses the real fruit. It always appears very attractive, and we always chase it, but it is always out of experience, right? So this is the experience of everybody in this material existence. We think, okay, what do? Okay, we first chased one thing, we got frustrated, we didn't get it. We don't stop there, we actually continue to try some other mango. So this is exactly how everybody chases in this material world. We always see them and we go out to enjoy them, but always ends in anticlimax, right? So the material existence never ever lives up to our hype, the hype it presents. There's always advertisements that make us feel as if this is the place to be, or this is the way to be. But by the time you try to experience it, it's never stands for the hype it was advertised for. And what do? Okay, maybe it's not this mango, we'll move ahead and try to find another mango, and the search will continue and continue and continue, and we always remain unsatisfied and remorse. Because all the mangoes that we are trying to find in the material existence are unreal. They are reflections of real mango. So this is the reason why Krishna says we should practice detachment. If you want to get out of the material existence, you cannot keep chasing mango after mango. The problem with chasing is, the more you try to chase, the more you get deep in the waters, right? And there is no easy way out. The more you get in the trouble, the more you're far from the bank. So that's the challenge. So here you see this person, he's trying to chase something in the water, but unfortunately all mangoes are reflected mangoes. They're not real mangoes, and the problem is we will be totally lost. Um, so what Krishna says, the first thing is to stop chasing after these reflections in the material existence. Instead, if you become attached to the reality, the supreme reality, then one actually gets freed from the bondage. Otherwise, he will continue to suffer in this material existence through bondage and transmigration. Okay? Yeah. It's not only that we continue in this human body, we can also, based on our desires, we will actually move to different species of bodies. It could be aquatic, it could be plants, could be insects, and each of this body is made to experience different types of mangoes based on the desires the uh, jiva possesses. These bodies, what are these bodies? They're reflections of the desires to enjoy different mangoes in the material existence, or the reflection of mangoes in the material existence. Because specific body is needed to enjoy a specific reflection of fruit. And so Krishna kindly actually awards different types of bodies so that the illusioned soul can experience these reflections or illusions in the material existence through various bodies in the material world. Okay? So this is exactly what our predicament is. We are trying to enjoy these different reflections in the material existence and getting deeper and deeper into the waters of material existence and trying to chase various mangoes, and in the process transmigrating into different bodies based on our desires.
A quick question. So the desires also move from one body to the other, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Desires also, because they are stored in mind. Vasanas, they're called vasanas, and they're stored. So they continue to exist with us.
Right.
So in the 11th verse, Krishna talks about Jnana Chakshu. We all heard about Jnana Chakshu, right? What exactly is Jnana Chakshu? Okay? We have to see, we hear that we have to see the world with the eyes of knowledge of scripture. What does that exactly mean? So to understand this, suppose you are in a traffic, there is a traffic light and signal made you stop at the traffic light. And so what do you see? There are so many things to see, right? There may be attractive cars, there may be attractive people, and the least interesting thing when you are in the traffic circle is to see the traffic signal, right? But that is the most important thing when you are in the traffic, right? Not all these other attractive things around you. So Jnana Chakshu is about seeing the most essential thing. While living in this world, we are presented with so many things that promise enjoyment in this material existence. Okay? But the real essence is to see them with the eyes of knowledge of the scripture. Right? Then you have the right vision. Just like this person, he might see so many attractive things, but he has to be absorbed. He has to have focus on the traffic light at the right time. If he doesn't, then he will miss or he may get honking from the back. Right? Even though there are so many attractive things in this existence, the most so it's very important to see with the eyes of the knowledge. What is the knowledge here? The knowledge that the knowledge of the person is that he has to see that the traffic light, because he's in the traffic. So that knowledge enables him to be safe on the road. So similarly, to see the world with the knowledge is like that. When we are in the material world, there are so many things that will take away our attention. So we need to have right wisdom to see and act properly in this material existence. So that knowledge is jnana chakshu, which is the eyes of the knowledge, which we cannot see with our naked eye. Right? So what Bhagavad Gita provides us is this jnana chakshu. So with this eyes of knowledge, our journey in the material world becomes less rocky, shaken by ups and downs, which will inevitably come in this material world. So that's another very important verse. So we need education to know what is the right thing to focus. Right? Yeah. So next section, how Krishna assists in our material existence and spiritual endeavor. So in 12 to 15, we need to see, we start seeing how God is helping in this world before we trust God as helping in some other world. The point is, if somebody promises something, how do we believe him, right? So the scripture describes how the material, how the life in spiritual world is, how great it is. But to really appreciate that, we need to experience something in this world itself, or we need to know that actually, uh, something tangible can be experienced within this world in our relation with God. Yeah, otherwise we can't believe something. If suppose there is a rich man and there is a poor man, the if the rich man promises the poor man a very good job in some other city, hmm, and the poor man is right now struggling at his work in current location, uh, and how does he believe that this rich man is going to really make me, give me a great job where my labor would be reduced and my salary would be higher? How does he believe that? He can believe he can believe in the benevolence of the rich man if the rich man himself, in the in his current position, to the poor man he gives some food and clothes and to maintain the poor man. Then the poor man thinks that maybe the rich man can give me better things in his kingdom or in his city, right? So we need to understand how Krishna is actually helping in the material existence right now, so that we can develop faith uh, in his existence, in his transcendental existence and transcendental benevolence in the spiritual world. So we cannot have faith in that until we have faith in his existence in the material existence, right? In his benevolence in the material existence. Yeah. So, but unfortunately, most people in this world, they look up to God to fulfill their material desires, and in the process, they get frustrated. In fact, recently, one of my friend he messaged me. I just uh, had a quote in my WhatsApp status about the presence of God, and he said, this is all you know ludicrous. I can't believe in these things in this time and days. And I clarified why you were, I didn't just reject him. I'm trying to understand why he's coming up with that point. Now, then I realized after some conversation that the real reason he is frustrated is because he had certain desires that are not getting fulfilled by God. Then I clarified the same concept from here in this chapter, that if you look at God with a mindset that he is a fulfiller of your desires, you will definitely be frustrated in this existence. That is not the proof of existence or non-existence of God. First, you should look at a fundamental level, right? For example, our existence is dependent on things beyond us, which we have no control on at all. Right? Even to live, we need breathing. And where is the air coming? We didn't manufacture it. We didn't manufacture water. We didn't manufacture food. Even you can work hard. You can earn some money, but can you produce by your own effort your food? You cannot. The nature has to provide us. It is the nature that sustains us. The sunlight, the moonlight, the crops. It's all nature provided. The air, the water, everything. And after you eat, can you digest by yourself? There is a very complex mechanism that is helping you to digest. If you can't digest, you know, it's going to be very tough. You can't sustain a day without digestion. Unfortunately, we think about God only when our desires are frustrated, only when our digestion doesn't work, or until then we take God for granted. When I talked to him like this, then he kept silent. He didn't accept it, but at least he was silent. The reason is we don't see at this level, at the fundamental level, on how our existence is dependent on things beyond our control. And when the thought comes this way, then you start relating to God in a better way. As long as you treat him as your wish fulfiller or order supplier, you would always be frustrated. You would deny his existence, but that's not his role. He exists. He has a purpose, and we have a purpose. And when we relate with that purpose in life, then we can see our relation with him.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Mhm.
So, with respect to this explanation that you have given, how can we understand the verse akamaha sarva kamaha moksha kamaha?
Yeah, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena
Yajate purusham param.
yajata purusham param. Yes. So yes, even if you have desires, approach God, but don't be frustrated, because the fulfillment of your desires is not just guaranteed by the prayer you do. But still, if you have desires, still you approach God, Supreme Lord only. Right? It means that you don't get frustrated when you don't get the desires fulfilled. Don't get frustrated. Accept that as that's what is good for you. We don't accept like that. That's where the problem is. So he wants his desires to be fulfilled. If he doesn't, then he's upset. That's how the nature of my friend is, right? So the frustration is to be taken out. When you approach the Supreme Lord to fulfill your desires, he does not immediately fulfill your desires. He is going to purify you, get you ready for, get you become eligible to fulfill them, and then give those things. Right? That's how Krishna fulfills the desire. He's like a father, right? Father only gives things which are benevolent to you. He's not going to give you things which are not good for you. So that is how we approach. Is that making sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Yep. So by the way, that is from 4th canto Bhagavatam, right? That verse, 3rd or 4th?
I am not sure about it, Prabhu.
Okay.
2.3.10, Prabhu.
Oh, 2. Okay.
2.3.
Yeah. So we'll continue with the same thing. So in 15th verse, Krishna talks about how we depend on things beyond our control, right? And where are these coming from, right? So if you look at this, right, at cosmological level, we depend on sun and moon to get heat and light. At terrestrial level, we depend on photosynthesis, and we depend on air and water, fruits, vegetation, all of this, right? And then at physiological level, we depend on our digestion. I mentioned this before. So we depend on so many things which are out of control. And who is making them work right? It is God who is making it all work. Right? So this requires the eyes of the knowledge of eyes the knowledge of scripture, the Jnana Chakshu. Right? So this is the way of seeing things. The eyes of wisdom to understand, with which we can see God is doing so much for me already for my existence in the material world. So when we accept Krishna that way, we won't feel frustrated when our desires are not fulfilled. We are already being supported by Him all the time. Every minute to minute, our existence is dependent on His mercy. Right? And everything that makes us strive and succeed in the material existence, the foundation for which is not laid by me, it is laid by God. It is now, for anything you do, you need God's help, right? Simply speaking, can we achieve anything without God's help? First of all, you can't even live for a minute if you don't have supply of oxygen. We see how people are dying out of lack of supply of oxygen in India. In minutes, people are dying because we are so much dependent on material nature. That's what we should understand. Immediately, as soon as you hear that, you should understand how much we are dependent on things which are not in our control, and who is making them available to us. That is Jnana Chakshu. So that is how, when we see things, then we never get frustrated about our relationship with God. Right? So instead of seeing God as one fulfilling our material desires, see Him as one fulfilling our preconditions for existence. Minute to minute, we need His mercy. That's how we can live. Then we can see God as extremely benevolent. Yeah, because nothing is in our control. The entire sun can be stopped. I mean, if the sun is not there for a few days, can we ever live? We will all freeze out in no time. Air, water, everything. So He fulfills our preconditions for existence. That's how, when we start seeing like that, then we can accept the presence of God in our life. Even if we are godless, God does not care less for us. You see the mercy of Lord. Even if somebody does not pray to Him, doesn't worship Him, in fact he condemns him, still He supplies him the air, the water, the food. He is not revengeful, or he's not unkind at all. He's always benevolent.
He's not partial.
He's completely impartial. Yeah, he's impartial, completely impartial. He's always kind upon all the living entities, because he treats everybody as his own child. Some child deny, some child they don't accept the father's benevolence, but still, as a loving father, he continues to provide them the basic preconditions for existence: food, water, oxygen, everything. Yeah.
Good question.
Mhm.
So when we are preaching, especially to neophyte devotees, they will say, okay, so you all pray to the Lord, and Lord is supplying everything to you, and He does the same to me. So why should I really worship Him? That would be the question they would ask.
Okay. Yeah. Why should we worship Him if He's already anyway supplying? So what was the so we discussed about the detachment. What is the predicament if you don't take shelter of Him? We continue to suffer in this existence. So we will continue to come to this material existence forever. So it's not about just somehow sustaining this material existence. Do you want to go through this corona crisis in your next life, and want to suffer through black fungus, or some other disease? Why do you want to continue in this material existence when you see that all that you are doing is struggling to catch all these reflection mangoes? Nothing is fulfilling. Are you happy Did you ever, you should ask all these questions. Are you always happy? Nobody says always. I'm always happy. Right? Are you frustrated any day? Yes, I am 100%. Everybody says. So why do you want to? Do you see? Do you do you like to die? You can ask like that. Do you like your parents to die? But they all die. Everybody dies. Nobody likes to go through all these experiences. Why are they forced to? Should understand this existence is a reflection. It's not reality. You should explain like that. Do you want to continue to chase these mangoes? If he says yes, then you should forget him because he's just adamant, right? Make sense, Prabhu? Or
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
yeah. So we should ask questions. Many people, first of all, they don't understand they're not this body. They keep talking about this philosophy and all. First, come back. Do you understand you're not this body? If you don't,
Prabhu,
then forget about it. Yeah.
yeah, one follow-up question for Prabhu's question. So when we ask these questions and say that, okay, do you want to take birth again, suffer one more life with all these things? Then the question can come as, okay, so you say that after if you follow all these things, you go back to Krishna.
Mhm.
But how can I don't believe that after there is no life after death. So then we go back to the original to talk about reincarnation and everything. So
Yeah,
not many people.
that's why I think the fundamental concept they should understand is they are not this body. First of all, who are you, right? They think I am this body. Then what is the difference between dead body and living body?
Yeah, so
So like
that's
that, we should always so these concepts. That's why we cannot introduce these concepts directly to them because first thing is to make them understand you are not this body. That's why you see Prabhupada lectures, they're always focused on this fundamental point. Once they get that, hey, my existence will continue to be there after this body. You can give recently only I was talking to another friend, my very old friend, 15 years old friend, and he has very difficulty in accepting karma, reincarnation. And then I pointed the research in afterlife. There are thousands of cases of incarnation, reincarnation. Then he was amazed actually. Oh wow, this is all scientific body of study, and this is real. And so many examples of people who are born, who identified their previous parents and wife and husband, whatever, right? So when he went through that literature, he felt that there is something that I cannot experience in this in my material body. I cannot know everything, and I need to use wisdom beyond my perception. Then they start accepting scripture, right? um, so first thing is two things, Motherji. Anytime, first thing is make them understand you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. Second thing is understand you have four limitations, four defects. So don't think you can understand everything through your limited mind and intelligence. You have four defects, right? You get illusion, right? You try to find fault. So if you accept these four principles of you know of our weaknesses and understand you are not this body, then you can talk about higher things after that. Yeah.
yes, Prabhu. So I think it is. I think more than all philosophy, there's mercy is needed to have faith. So if
Yeah.
somebody gives mercy, that little bit faith will come and slowly it can
Correct.
grow.
First is to treat them nicely. Don't argue and make them inimical to us. Treat them nicely. Understand they are coming with gap of knowledge and they may not be ready to accept right away. But give them some positive. Uh, you know. Start with some positive ideas and slowly give them prasadam and talk nicely and slowly divert them, because people are frustrated. They all have very very bad experiences in this world. some of them lost loved ones, and these people have prayed to God, and nothing happened. Unfortunately, in our recent Gita batch, one devotee's mother passed away, and she's disturbed after that. Even though she has been attending all the classes, she stopped attending. I've been talking to her, but it's again, it's taking time. I know what to say, but she's not ready to get that concept clear, right? So we have to also give them time. It's not that just because we spoke, they are going to immediately change. And
Are you talking about Uma Prabhuji?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to her and for a long time, some time back, and she cried out for a long time. It was very difficult for her to accept. And now she's kind of joining once in a while for reading Narasimha Kavacham for others in the night, like some Matajis are reading in for general well-being. So she's joining, and she's trying to, get aligned
Cope
back.
up with that, yeah.
Yeah.
She's attending once in a while. It's been
Mm.
like 4 weeks, and she attended 2 classes, I think, after that also.
Mm.
But yeah, she's suddenly going through that kind of pain once in a while.
But luckily she's not angry. She felt like, why Krishna did this kind of thing, but she didn't lose faith in Krishna.
Yeah, she didn't lose faith.
That's
She was
good. Yeah.
upset.
She was
She was a little
upset
bit
and
upset,
disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my friends, when I asked one of my college friend to attend this Bhagavad Gita class, which we are doing, she said, I'll not attend because my husband lost faith in God after his sister passed away. She just said that, and that's it.
Like, so all of these people, they go through some experience, and that takes away their faith. And because the original foundation they have is weak, and that foundation is, oh, God is there to fulfill my desires. I pray to him and he should abide my desires, right? So that gets shaken, these people lose faith immediately because the foundation is weak. Now this Uma Mataji, she sustained because she at least went through some education before that, right? But many people, they previously in Navadvip Prabhu was telling, he used to conduct a class in a home, and after that woman lost her husband, then she completely was against Krishna consciousness. It's like that. I mean, many people did after doing a lot of service also. It it takes some time for them to cool
even
off.
after knowing philosophy itself is hard. Even after knowing philosophy itself, it is hard.
It is very hard. Yeah.
So people, like even for our spiritual master, even though we know all the philosophy, it was very difficult because if so many people prayed, and then why that happened? Like it was so hard to kind of come to some conclusion. But then after a while, then okay, why, what, when you hear all that thing. So it takes time, even though you know the philosophy, for a reason, to have a reason within your own mind to accept it. So.
That's true. Yeah, we need to reason out within ourselves. When we ourselves come to some kind of understanding, then we accept, right? It takes time. It has to digest.
So, Prabhu, one thing that I kind of made myself understand when you ask Krishna for saving someone and Krishna takes that person away is that because Krishna is spiritual, he takes him, and we ask Krishna to take care of this person. So for him, it is the soul, and he is taking care of the soul of the person. And what we are seeing is just the body.
Exactly. We think in terms of body alone primarily, but for Krishna, ultimately it is the spiritual welfare, right, of the soul that he is cared about. And when we pray, that is definitely assured in the spiritual welfare of the soul, and that is the real the real purpose of the prayer also.
Yeah, so
but we have some material expectations, and that may or may not be fulfilled according to his plan. Every jiva has a period, certain period in the body, and he can change, but Krishna doesn't intervene often in that in that in that plan for the material existence of of a jiva in the material world. He intervenes once in a while. For example, for Srila Prabhupada, when in the beginning years of the movement in the 1970 71, when Srila Prabhupada was extremely sick, it was almost thought that devotees thought he's going to pass away. And at that time, there are just very few temples, and devotees are very new. They are the most senior devotee is about 3 years in the Krishna consciousness. Less than all of you, right? So that was the position of Krishna conscious movement, and all the devotees across the world. At that time itself, there are few temples, and they all prayed. If you saw, Krishna Prabhupada himself told how to pray. Then they all prayed. If you so desire, please keep our spiritual master so that he can continue to spread Krishna consciousness and improve us, right? So in that way, everybody prayed through the day and night, and Krishna actually revived Prabhupada, and he continued to stay for 7-8 more years after that.
I think there is one more instance, Prabhuji.
Mm.
On the day of Prabhupada's arrival to US, that was the day that there was another country which is trying to bomb US. It was not known during the time Prabhupada came to US on the first day, but later the person who is the pilot of that, one of the pilot who is supposed to bomb, he revealed it later, saying that after so many years, saying that on the same day we were trying to bomb US, but suddenly we were waiting to switch on that, but at the last, within a minute, we got a order from the higher authorities that not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which country is that, but
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard about it. Okay, interesting.
yeah. This is one of the lecture I heard that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Maybe
America saved on the day of
Yeah.
Prabhupada's arrival.
Yeah. This is where the Krishna really intervened on that day.
Yeah. Even when Prabhupada was on Jaladuta,
Yeah.
we all heard about that, right? How the shaky waters caused nausea, and Prabhupada had a couple of heart attacks actually. And Prabhupada wrote a beautiful poem. If you so desire Krishna, make me dance as to your will, right? So that song, after he wrote, he had a dream where in the dream he saw all the incarnations actually helping ride the boat smoothly in these waters. Right? All in Jagannath was there, Krishna was there, Balaram was there. All these incarnations were helping to ride the boat very smoothly in the waters. And Prabhupada had no more heart attacks. He was very peaceful after that, and he landed, in the Boston Harbor very safely. And what do you call the person who actually drives the container? Whatever.
Captain.
Yeah, the captain of that ship, Jaladuta, he said after this journey, he said he hasn't had any such smooth journey in all his experience in the past. This is the first time he had an experience of a journey which is so smooth like a flight. He mentioned like that after that. It was interesting to know. Okay, any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll continue. So in 1515, Krishna gives the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. One may wonder why forgetfulness. Knowledge and remembrance is good, but we'll understand what it means, right? So for us to function in this material world, we require material world or even in spiritual world, we need knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So the way we can understand is if you are driving a car, right, you need knowledge of driving the car, first thing. Second thing is to remember the signals, right? What does it mean by green? What is it? You need the remembrance. Whenever it comes, immediately you should remember, yes, I have to go move or I have to stop. Immediately you should remember. And then finally, you need absorption. Absorption is, you need absorption means you should not be distracted to other things while you are driving. Absorption is basically the other side or opposite of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness means you are not mindful, right? So you need thirdly absorption so that you can focus and drive, right? So absorption means we concentrate on something and we forget other things. So without forgetfulness, we cannot do anything productive because you need that that focus and concentration to function, to complete a task. And so these are the things that Krishna gives everyone. Without these things, we cannot function in the material existence. Just like all the external things Krishna gives for us to sustain in the material world, water, air, food, and digestion, and all the physiological, cosmological, all these things for our existence. He also internally, at the mind level, he gives us knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, the mental and soul level. So when we turn to Krishna, we should practice to be absorbed in him and forget about worldly things. So this is the real purpose of actually the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Knowledge about Krishna, remembrance of Krishna, forgetfulness of all the other worldly things. Right? So that is the way to get out of this material existence. And what kind of knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness Krishna gives? He gives that based on our desires. If your desire is to enjoy in the material world, he gives the knowledge of the material world. He will make you remember the things of the material world that can make you continue to exist in the material world. And he makes you forget about Krishna. On the other hand, if your desires are spiritual, he gives you spiritual knowledge, how to approach a spiritual master, or how to study scriptures, how to do different services. He gives the knowledge of that. He makes you remember Krishna whenever you are in trouble, and he makes you forget things of the material world so that you can focus on Krishna more and be absorbed in him. So understanding Krishna's benevolence, we can choose to turn towards him. We can make our desire spiritual. Right? So with our desire to serve him, when we desire to serve him, he provides us the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness as appropriate. Okay? So when we turn to Krishna, he gives the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness accordingly. This verse is very important. Right? So it is based on our desires that we get specific knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness.
Prabhuji, one doubt here. You mentioned that if we are interested in the material world, then Krishna will give the knowledge to understand the material world, right? If we really understand the material world, then we will start to dislike it, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
So how
but
will he
that
give
requires
knowledge?
jnana chakshu, right? You need spiritual knowledge, some spiritual knowledge to really see the knowledge of this material world as fruitless or reflection. But if you only desire material things, you will only be given material knowledge, not spiritual knowledge. In that sense, you would only hang on to material things. There is no there is no realization of that knowledge, or there is no turning towards Krishna.
Okay, so for such people, they'll be given knowledge so that they like the material world more and more.
Yes,
okay.
They will continue to like. I mean, there is no like there, right? They continue to chase things one after the other. If you don't get this, you try to get.
Other.
That's what Yeah, it just frustration of frustration actually. But the desires are strong because that's what he wanted. You know, so our desires drive our knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, and our existence in the material world.
What I'm kind of confused is, for people who are interested in material world, if they are given experience to like it more and more, then when will they develop this liking or seeking of spiritual knowledge or seeking of
That's why there is always frustration in the material world. So
frustration?
that,
Okay.
yeah, that is the reflection that we discussed in the first section. So there is always frustration. There is no fulfillment. There is always some unsatisfaction, always some anxiety. When we turn to material knowledge, material things of this world, there is always so much anxiety and this frustration.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah. The essence of Vedanta, Trishloki Bhagavad Gita. So 16 to 18, it talks about the three kinds of the two kinds of souls. One is there are souls that are bound in the middle world, Baddha Jivas, and Nitya Siddhas, which are souls which are eternally liberated. There are two kinds of souls, Krishna says. One is Nitya Baddhas and the other is Nitya Siddhas. The souls which are in the material existence, the souls which are liberated are in the eternal existence. So beyond these two, there is also another existence, which is the supreme reality or the supreme Lord. If the Baddha Jivas develop love for the supreme reality or the supreme Lord, he can become unbound. He will become unbound, right? So that is the opportunity for the Baddha Jivas. They can always turn to become Nitya Siddhas. Learning to love Krishna is the purpose and perfection of all knowledge. Yeah. So this section is short. Yeah. And in the last section, to know Krishna is to know everything. If you know Krishna, that is enough. You don't need to learn anything separate. He is the ultimate reality. Now let's quickly go through the Trishloki 16-18. Dva imau purusham loke Kshara eva cha Akshara
Sharaschakshara eva cha
Kshara sarvani bhutani
Shara sarvani bhutani
Kutasto akshara uchate.
Kutasto akshara uchate.
Can anyone read this?
There are
Go ahead.
two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Everyone is infallible. And the percentage wise, there is 90% in the spiritual world.
Is that?
Yes. The most existence is in the spiritual world. Yeah. It says 3/4 and 1/4. Yeah.
In Bhagavatam, Prabhuji?
Yes. Yes, Mataji. The 3/4 of the existence is in the spiritual world. It's like, it's easy to understand why there is more people there, right? It's just like in a city, there'll be law-abiding citizens and people who don't follow the law. And always the law-abiding are more in number. So it's like that. So we are the minority.
We are that 1/4.
We are the 1/4.
That's actually much more than typical city, but yeah,
We are a lot. We have many friends.
I guess if we are going to certain parts of the world, yeah, it will be in that numbers. So definitely.
Yeah. And imagine how many in a, the bacteria, how much, in a small 1 centimeter space, how many bacteria can live? Imagine, all of them are going through the suffering in the material existence in that small form. Uttama Purushastvanya
Uttama Purushastvanya
Paramatmeti Udahrita
Paramatmeti Udarata
Yo Lokatrayam Avishya
Yo Lokatrayamavesha
Vibharti Avyaya Ishvara
Vivarti Avya.
Ishvara. Yes, Prabhu. Nitin Prabhu, can you read?
Yes, Prabhu. Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Yeah, he is the maintaining. This is what we discussed. Everything we need depends on him. When we accept this principle, there is no difficulty in accepting his presence, his existence. This is how we should make people understand, not by as a fulfiller of desires. Yashmat ksharam atitohyam ksharam atitohyam aksharat apichottama
Akshara Pichottama
pichottama atosmi lokavedecha
Atosmi Lokavedecha
pratita purushottama.
Prathita Purushottama.
Yeah, now Narahari Priya Prabhu.
Because I am transcendental, both beyond the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person.
Yeah, see, this is one verse to say Krishna is the Supreme Lord. I am the greatest. Who can say like that? Wow. Right? I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. No one can say this. No other incarnation also said like that, by the way, just for your clarification.
Except some fake incarnation.
They always say that, yes. I was, somebody shared some video of Nityananda. What's his name? I think Nityananda, something like that.
Nityananda.
Swami Nityananda, yeah. Yeah, I am not like other gurus. I reveal everything. Don't treat me as guru. Gurus give things. I give everything. He uses words very funnily. Gurus give things. I give everything.
So I saw a video of he talking about quantum physics and all that stuff, and there were so many people like very keenly listening, and he kept on talking, but nobody understood anything. But then they all started clapping, like no word you could understand,
Exactly.
but they were all clapping.
Yeah, blind leads the blind. That's the example. Prabhupada always says that there are always cheaters and cheated. People choose to believe in him, even though there is no backing of scripture, there is no backing of, because they have these strong desires, and the hope is that one day this person is going to fulfill my desires. And they hang on to that until then, and after they realize that no, this person is not going to fulfill my desires, they will give up. That's what happens. History keeps repeating itself. Don't think any of these followers, they also don't, the godmen also know these followers are not going to stay for long. As long as they are there, let me get whatever I want from them. They are in that business. These guys are in the business, okay, I'm going to get whatever I want, and then we'll see. And there is a tug of war between the desires of the two parties.
And
Ultimately,
One-
the guy, the leader only wins. These guys lose.
And one of them says that I don't read any scriptures. Like I think Jaki Vasudev. He says,
Yeah.
I don't read Bhagavad Gita. I don't whatever knowledge I speak is my own realized knowledge.
My own
I think he
speculation.
says something like that.
He says that. I know about him. I studied. I heard him also a lot. Yeah, it's very clear. He's bogus. Yomam evam asammudho
Yo mameva sambhudo
janati purushottama
janati purushottama
Purushottamah
sasarvavid bhajati mam
sarvavid bhajati
bhajati
mam
mam
sarvabhavena bharata.
sarvabhavena bharata.
Yeah.
Whoever knows me
Yeah.
as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata.
What can be more stronger statement to practice Krishna consciousness than this one line?
Yes, right.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. Can anything be more emphatic than this? You can put this in your home. Not about, you should fully write the verse, otherwise people think it is you. He therefore if so people misunderstand, then if you keep this in your Facebook status, that will be misunderstood. He therefore engages himself in full devotion service to me, O son of Bharata. Right? So there is nothing more emphatic than this statement for one to actually practice, bhakti to Krishna.
One question, Prabhuji, one question.
Yes.
So this verse clearly states that Krishna is telling us Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Correct.
So other people who are worshipping demigods or maybe other class of people, what is their interpretation by seeing this verse? Krishna is clearly saying he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, but how can they understand in different way?
Oh, by the way, they never read, Prabhu, this verse.
Okay.
They never read. If they read it, they get confused. Yeah.
Okay.
There is.
What I have heard is, Prabhu, one is no one reads. The second thing is they misinterpret this verse. In the sense, even in Radha Krishnan's translation of Bhagavad Gita, the me they interpret as some spiritual soul has entered Krishna. So that is what they interpret. And that is why they
the unborn within Krishna, he says. The unborn within Krishna who is speaking this knowledge. That's how he says, Radha Krishna.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they try to misinterpret. You see, what is the word here? Yo mam evam asamudho, without doubting. Janati Purushottama, who understands me as that Supreme Lord, knows me as the Supreme Personality of God. Clearly, mam means me. It's a conversation between two people. If Arjuna and Krishna are there, right there, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, hey, whoever knows me as the Supreme Lord without doubt, that already that Radha Krishna violated that, right? Without doubt is violated already. Is the knower of everything. That means he's not the knower of everything. That's what.
So here, even if here there is a room for, let's say, that kind of misinterpretation. If you take the 719, Bahunam Janmanamante, Jnanama Mam Prapatite, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. There
it's clearly mentioned Vasudeva.
Exactly. So there is
Son
no.
of Vasudeva. Yeah. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Yeah. Very clear. You combine these two verses and throw it on the face of that guy. No, they can't deny it.
Who is Radha Krishna, Prabhuji?
He's the vice president of India, the
Sarvepalli.
first vice president, Sarvepalli Radhakrishna, Telugu guy.
Oh, okay. No, I thought some spiritual leader. Okay.
No, during the Independence Day, all these politicians, all these leaders were actually spiritually minded, in the sense that they are all based their everything on Bhagavad Gita only. Everybody went to jail and they wrote a translation of Bhagavad Gita. Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi, Sarvepalli Radhakrishna, and a few more people. Actually, all of them gave their own translation. Everything is contradicting each other, and everything is based on their own understanding and their own fights and their own teachings. Everybody has. They're all powerful people, by the way. Aurobindo, these, India had very powerful people at the time. Rabindranath Tagore. These are one of few of the brightest minds in the world, actually, at the time. Even Einstein would seek an appointment to talk to Rabindranath Tagore. Can you imagine? And they had a wonderful conversation of, on philosophy between the two. So I can share that conversation between Rabindranath Tagore and Einstein.
Einstein believes in God, right, brother?
Yeah, he believes in God, but I mean, at least in that conversation, it feels like he is not very clear at all.
Okay.
But Rabindranath Tagore is more confusing, actually, in the dialogue. His idea of God, at the end of it, Einstein says, "Looks like I am more religious than you."
They're all Mayavadis though, right? Because they
Yeah.
they never had.
So the problem anybody lands as a Mayavadi is they can't accept any spiritual reality. The good thing with us is we accept it in faith. Even though we do not have an experience of Krishna, we accept it in faith, the words of Acharyas and the words of Gita. They can't accept this. So they need to have some tangible experience to accept anything. So that's where they get stuck. Many people have this problem, and so their spiritual understanding and experience is limited to what they can experience materially, and so they cannot accept anything transcendental. That's why bahunam janmanam, Krishna says, ultimately all these people come much later, after many lifetimes of struggle. Yeah, so understand that leap of faith is the you can say that is the greatest benediction you have in your life. Because for most people, even for me, when I was in the first 2 years of Krishna consciousness, it was very difficult to accept Krishna as a person, because I came with a lot of strong, these Mayavadi teachings. It's very difficult to accept a personality as God, and it takes a lot of what do you call, unwinding to accept. Yeah. Unlearning. Yes, yeah, that's the right word.
That is where the power of Guru is.
Power of Guru, power of Prasadam, power of Prabhupada's Guru Parampara.
Right.
All this comes. So the only thing that made me confident is the authority of Prabhupada. The way he presents everything, every word he speaks or writes. I started with Science of Self-Realization. Everything was a translation or transliteration of some Vedic, saying or statement, right? That means, he is not on his own, whenever he speaks. That authority gave me faith. Until then, whatever I'm hearing or speaking, people are contradicting their own ideas. Then I could differentiate between those teachers and Prabhupada. Then light struck in me, some bulb stuck in me that, hey, this seems to be the right thing, because there is consistency all across. In everything he speaks, he is consistent. I read Vivekananda books. I used to get frustrated at the end of it, because at the end he leaves it open so that no Mayavadi would run away from his books, right? Because there is fear that by reading these books, people they write in such a way that this book is open for interpretation in the way you want, and you can accept God or does not accept God. Still, you can continue to enjoy these books. That's how they read. If you read, I have read Vivekananda books. Lot of books.
Mayavadis write like that. Like if you ask who is God, they'll tell you can find for yourself who God is.
Exactly. That is such a foolish statement. And you will live all your life without getting anywhere because of that. Even I have my friend who is very spiritual inclined. He has the same problem. Even now he talks to me once in a while. You know, Chaxpro, he's Srikant Vegalam, right? Yeah, we always have this, he has this problem of accepting scripture in faith. So he's stuck. Very tough. So he's going through some processes right now. He's getting nowhere after years. Still he's hanging on to it.
Also, Art of Living, also, I know they are reading Bhagavad Gita, and for all these verses, they might interpret Guru is Krishna, their Guru is Krishna or something like that.
Correct. They completely misinterpret, right? That's the problem. How we believe this is the right interpretation. Look at any of those books. They will never give synonyms. So they're not confident of their own translation. Most of these people.
And Prabhu, like I actually found one online version of English version of Adi Shankara's translation also, because just for my own benefit of contrasting, he doesn't translate all the verses. He only picks
Few verses, yes.
certain specific verses to tell a narrative that he wanted to drive.
Exactly.
Of course, as we understand from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he is sent by the Lord himself to confuse, but it was done with an intention. So, but you don't find all these Mayavadis, they don't translate every verse. As you said, they don't translate every word for sure. But they don't even translate every verse.
Yeah.
So most of them actually, they get stuck in that karma yoga.
Yeah.
And the after 6th chapter, they typically don't touch much.
That's true. Yeah, many people do that actually. Yeah, that's a very good point. Because they have limited understanding of the scripture, unfortunately. Most people. Yeah. Let's read this one. Final. Iti guhya tamam sastram. Idam uktam maya nagha. Etad buddha buddhiman syat. Kritakrityascha bharata. Yeah, Navadvi Prabhu, can you read?
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
What is that? It is the previous verse. Krishna is himself saying this is the most confidential knowledge. Can you imagine? Means there is nothing more confidential than this. What is the word? Most confidential. Guhya tamam. Tamam means the most. Sastram means in the revealed scriptures. Idam uktam, I am disclosing to you. Maya anaga means, oh sinless one. So there is nothing more. Whoever understands this will become wise. In his endeavors will know perfection. That's why in Bhagavatam it says, the intelligent in the age of Kali Yuga, they practice Sankirtan Yajna. They become wise. They are the intelligent ones. Spiritual intelligence, not material intelligence and processing things. So this is the conclusion. The conclusion is actually last two verses. Whoever knows me as a supreme Lord without doubting is the knower of everything. Therefore, engage in himself in full devotion service to me. There is no more confidential truth than this. Yeah. Okay, I think we are done. Quickly, let's go through and give one quick point on what your takeaway from this class. I think a couple of devotees left, 3 people, but rest of us can do it quickly. Anand Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, the one which I kind of means the takeaway is like we kind of when the beginning of the class we spoke about how we look at material life and different reflections in the material world, right? And we keep getting attracted by it, but using Jnana Chakshu, we should be able to see the knowledge, see the world with knowledge of scriptures, and we should be able to see the most important thing, which is focus on Krishna and how to connect with him, rather than getting attracted to the reflections in the material world.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Daivi Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One thing I'll take away is the 3 points that you mentioned. One is know very well about Krishna, and always remember Krishna, and forget all the material things. I'm not sure if I'm saying paraphrasing it right, but those 3 points, like basically remember Krishna and forget other things.
Correct. Yeah. Knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness comes from Krishna, and that is based on our desires. And if we are Krishna conscious, these things will be based on Krishna consciousness, so that the knowledge will help us to progress in Krishna consciousness. Remembrance will be of Krishna will make us remember him, so that our journey in the material existence is smooth, and we forget the the material things of this world. We are not disturbed by them. Yeah, thank you. Next, Jai Shri Devi Mataji and Chaitanya Sundar Prabhu. One after the other.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I think when you were justifying some argument that with your friend, I think that I like the way that you explained, which is, if you see the God as a fulfiller of your desires, material desires, versus he is fulfilling your preconditions for existence. I think that is a very good argument.
Yeah,
I picked that.
that's a very good preaching tool, actually, because many people, especially recently, many people lost their loved ones and they're frustrated, actually. And anytime they hear about God's mercy and all, they get frustrated, really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and this particular chapter gives, as you said, like cosmological level, physiological level, biological level, how the Lord maintains, sustains, and creates.
Yeah. He's the maintainer. When we say Krishna is the maintainer, we wonder, how is he maintaining? My salary is maintaining me. People think like, unfortunately, they can't even see, how at all these levels we are being maintained by the Lord, Supreme Lord. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Very good points. Jai Shri Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So for me, the main thing that stuck to my mind was how Krishna cares. Even though we care less for him, there are people who don't care for him, but he never cares less for them.
Yeah. Many people think, oh, I don't worship God, still I am fine. Hey, they don't understand. It is the mercy of the Lord that is the,
Yeah, so that shows how Krishna is not partial, and he is sarva bhutanam suhridam sarva bhutanam, and then he is actually fulfilling the desires of that person, even through the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. If your desire is to have material opulence, he will give you the forgetfulness of himself. So that you realize what you want, and then eventually you get back to him.
Correct. Eventually, but unfortunately, eventually you get frustrated, because the nature of material existence is like that. It makes you run after these reflections and get frustrated, and ultimately samaha, you will surrender to Krishna.
Yeah, and the other main point was even if we have material desires, we should always go to Krishna, 2, 3, 10, because Krishna wouldn't give it to you until we are purified.
Yeah, it is better to go to Krishna rather than other demigods for even material desires. Thank you, Mataji. Navadvip Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So one thing which I really like and appreciated was the Nitya Paddhas and the Nitya Siddhas. So this was something which I understood today. 1/4 we are all the fallible ones, and the 3/4 is actually the infallible one sitting there in spiritual world. So above these two is, Krishna himself is sitting. And finally, as a summary, I would say, where Krishna says, whoever knows me as a supreme personality of God, it is a knower of everything. So I think this summarizes everything. In fact, that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita, I would say.
Yeah, that is essence of Bhagavad Gita. There is Trisloki Bhagavad Gita. That's why 15th chapter is very important verse. Important chapter. Short and essential chapter.
Absolutely. And one last point, I was just contemplating on this forgetfulness. If Krishna had not given us this quality of forgetting, how painful our life would have been if we cannot forget.
There are so many suffering and negative experiences we go through. If we don't forget, we can't even sleep.
Right.
That's true. Thank you so much. Next, Nitin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Wonderful class. I like learn about the analogy of mango. I was never thinking that mango you'll be able to explain such a nice way that you seek for it and you are not able to get it, and then you keep getting frustrated and chase another one. So that's a wonderful analogy, and I learned that this is how we keep chasing our dreams, chasing our desire, and we go after one after the another. When we does not get fulfilled, we come look for the something else to get fulfilled. So it just feels like a drunkard man. He just drinks more. He just doesn't get fulfilled, so he kind of keep drinking something else, but he keeps drinking all the time. So
you can't stop drinking.
Yes, absolutely.
Every day he keeps drinking. Yeah.
So it's so perfectly sit in the material world. So that was
initially he starts drinking to forget, the material frustration.
Yes.
But then, he gets frustrated while drinking, because he is not able to stop drinking now.
Yes. So yeah, I kind of was trying to connect those things, and this was very great learning for me, that how I can think about these different analogies to connect the point. Then 15.15 is my most close verse, because I have been like talking to my son. Yes. I like very much, and me and my son sometimes discuss about the remembrance, because he keeps saying I forgot. So I said, think about Krishna when you forget, because forgetful also comes from him. So I think you explained very nicely about what is a forgetful means. Forgetfulness is all about material things. So that's very wonderful, Prabhu. So these are the two things I'll take. These are top two things, but everything is like much to learn. But yes, these two top things for me.
Yeah, very nicely explained, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank
you. Next, we'll make it fast. Saravanan Prabhu or Saki Priya Mataji? Yeah, Saki Priya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, my take-home points. So thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. And my take-home points for today is, 12 to 15, like, how Krishna assists us in the material existence. Like, it is the Krishna who gives us so many things in this material world, and we need to have that jnana chakshu, the eyes of wisdom, to understand, with which we can see that God is doing so much for us and all for our existence in this material world, and also gives a knowledge to take us back to the spiritual world. And also that 15.15 shloka, the Krishna says he gives a knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Krishna gives us the knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness depending on our desires. That was the key thing I really want to take home. And our desires should be really pure. We'll be focused on around Krishna, so that Krishna gives us the way to take us back to the spiritual world, rather than thinking about the material things in this world.
That's true, very much. Yeah.
The desires was the key thing for me.
Desires is the key. Yeah, desire. And once Prabhupada was asked a question, Prabhupada, what does it really take us to be Krishna conscious? You know what is the answer Prabhupada gave? He gave one word answer: desire. If your desire is to be Krishna conscious, you will stay Krishna conscious.
Exactly.
Desire is the key for us to be Krishna conscious or not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Saravana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So all the points have been covered. But I would like to stress about the last two verses that Krishna has stressed, that the essence of all the Vedic scriptures, not only Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic scriptures is He's a supreme personality of Godhead, and we need to do devotional service to Him. And that's the conclusion, without doubting. So that is kind of like, even though I have read this chapter, but again, when I read this today and in your class, I think it struck me when Krishna himself says that we need to involve in full devotional service without having any doubt.
Yeah. So very emphatically, Krishna says.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Next, Shyamukund Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Yes, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, I think all the points are covered. But
summary is already covered.
Yeah. But there's so many key things, especially as you said, this desire is where keep us back here, and we go through this so many times again and again. Because and it's hard for us to, when we go through certain experiences, it's hard to see that time, at that time, why we are going through that experience. But then after a few years or sometime later, when we look at it back, then we realize, oh, this is why the Lord put us through this type of experience.
That's true. That's very, very true. In hindsight, you'll see you're able to connect the dots afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards. But at that time, when we are in the in the cloud, we don't see that.
We are confused at the time.
Yeah.
It's always like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where, always it is a struggle. Every day is a struggle.
Every day is a struggle. That's why every day we should continue always chanting the holy name. It's the easiest way to connect with God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sridhar Gopal Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry. So my take home this one, Prabhuji. One point is everything comes from Krishna. So whatever, if you put our efforts towards developing the Jnana Chakshu, and if you see that way everything, so that way Krishna provides us the material path in a less rocky way. I like that point. So less rocky. That means we should depend on the Krishna. We should see everything in the terms of Jnana Chakshu. That means everything comes from the Krishna. Nothing belongs to us. When we have the thinking of everything comes from Krishna, nothing belongs to us, that leads to the path of renunciation. One way. So when we think it belongs to him, there is nothing belongs to us. Then there is nothing to renunciate from our side materially.
Correct.
So indirectly, it helps us to develop the thinking in that angle. That's what I thought. So next thing is respect to desire, Prabhuji. So we desire something and we get some results. We try to attach to the results. So Krishna is saying, based on the desire, I give you the understanding.
Yeah.
So one thing is, if we desire and we get results, we try to attach. So attachment is there. So we have to try to detach from the results. So unless and until we detach from the results, it goes on a cyclic way.
Yeah.
Results, attachment, desire, so we have to disconnect that loop.
Yeah. The disconnect happens when we understand this. We are actually chasing after reflections here, and there is no satisfaction at all. And we can all look back to our own material life before coming to Krishna consciousness. Even after coming to Krishna consciousness, we still have some material desires, and we try to seek them, and you can see our own life, they're all causing a lot of frustration and anxiety for us. Yep. Thank you.
And one more thing. One more thing.
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
somewhere I read this from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's lecture. So we should not, people from the other who does not have some knowledge, or even sometimes we think that, okay, so unless and until we expect something, how can we get that motivation to work? So we desire something, okay, I want to get that. So we have that perspective of getting that result in mind, and with that result in mind, we get the motivation to work. So
Correct.
when people ask that, so unless and until I expect something, how can I get a motivation to work? So Prabhu was explaining, we should not attach to the results, but we should not detach from the setting the goals. You should set the
Exactly.
goal, set the goals, but not attach to the results.
Exactly. That is the main key point. I want to say I remember that point. That's very important. It's not, if you don't have a goal, you can't achieve anything in life, by the way, whether material or spiritual. You need to have a goal. But the thing is, and you have to put your best effort, but don't be attached to the fruits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Yeah, that's Karma Yoga principle, right?
Yes.
So you should have a very clear goal, very clear plan of achieving it. Right? But for whatever reasons, if you don't get it, understand that is your karma. You accept that as Krishna's will, and that accept with grace. Don't get frustrated by that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, and don't not be attached to not doing it because of that. Because the Krishna says you are not entitled to the fruits. That's why you don't be attached to the fruits. Just because you are not entitled to the fruits doesn't mean you don't get attached to not doing it also. Karmanyavadikarasya ma phalesh kadachana ma phala heturbur mate sangostu akarmani. Don't be attached to not doing work because you are not entitled to the fruits. What is in your hand is to set a goal and achieve it, right? But if you don't get it, don't be attached to not doing it. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was a very interactive class with a lot of Q&A and discussions. Very nice points presented by everyone. I learned from you all. Thank you all very much. We'll stop here and meet next week. Thank you so much.
I think
Hare Krishna.
reflection
Thank you,
is
Prabhu.
most important at the end of
Thank
the
you,
class.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, reflection points are very good. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.